Well, first, congratulations to Houston. They put in a very professional performance and took advantage of our mistakes, and then sat back and really knew how to kill the game off. And yep, we got to learn some important lessons from that. But to them and their coach on the road, yeah, impressed with the tactical changes they made and the performance they put in tonight.
Irene, what do you think were some of the biggest difference makers in this match, just as it progressed?
Not to state the obvious, but they did finish their chances. And it's a really important lesson for this league, for me, for my staff, but for the players. We just played a Washington team where, they had us sitting back, and Bella put in an incredible performance. And then we have a game today where we don't get many shots against us and they score 2 goals. So something about how we prepare for games, but also how sharp we need to be in front of the net, because opposition attackers are just as sharp. And if they're scoring their chances and we're not scoring ours, it's going to be a long season.
How do you balance as a coach, the necessity of rotating players in with, the obvious potential for a result like this to maybe come out of something like that?
Yeah, look, we have a deep team. We need to rotate. It's always going to be moments of growing pains. The players that started today that maybe haven't in other games, this game is not a knock on them at all. It will take time. There will be you make 3 changes and the flow is slightly different. It is a reality. It pays dividends as you go through a season. So teams now that are playing the same starting lineup every single game, they have real flow going and they're really gutting it out, but it's a long season and the sun has just arrived. So I personally believe that it's hard to do sometimes, because if something's working, you don't want to change it. But I personally believe you must give players opportunities, the partnerships to grow, so that by the end of the season, we're flying and we can make a number of different choices for who starts and who comes in.
Sorry, brain fart. Okay. And the majority of goals this year have come on the counterattack. And today you guys had your highest amount of possession in the game at, I think, over 60%, and you had the highest number of crosses. Are you guys looking to try to get away from just like the counter being the main attack and kind of having that possession more around the outside of the box?
Well, it's a bit of both, right? So Houston is a team that is very dangerous on the counter themselves. If you look at their past games, they almost always have lower possession than the opposition. And that's just one statistic. It doesn't matter if you have it for 90% of the game, if they use the 10% to score more goals than we do. So possession is one metric. How we find attacking moments against a team that defends really well and really low is something we have to learn from. The automatic choice is to get the crosses in, but if they've packed the box, it is hard to get clear shots off. So I think what I liked was how we started to work on sort of playing in to come back out to get secondary crosses, the slip balls. Those are the ways we break down lower blocks. But possession itself is not relevant.
You just played a couple games on kind of short turnaround. I'm curious what your goals were going into this stretch and kind of coming out of it, if you have any reflections on how that went for you guys.
Well, not well. I mean, we had 3 home games. We had 2 ties and a loss. And I talked to the team a lot about zero excuse culture. When you're at home and you have 3 games, it doesn't matter. Everyone's got hard schedules at different times. People are traveling and having games like that. So we were at home. I would have expected more points. I think what we talked about as a team is we'll take the hits now to learn later, but we have to learn from these moments. That was a very business-like performance from Houston. And it's another reminder that it doesn't matter which team it is. It doesn't matter what their reputation or their record. If you don't show up on the day and don't deliver, you won't get the result.
All right, Jonathan Tannenwald from the Philadelphia Inquirer. Nice to meet you. I'm writing a feature about Sam Coffee.
Yep.
I know it's a little bit snake bitten that it's on a day when she gets subbed out at halftime and it's a loss of the game on top of that. But what have you seen so far this year from her that has propelled her into becoming a regular starter in such a crucial position as a rookie?
Yeah, well, first, I think Sam has played a lot of minutes for us, and getting her off was not because of performance. I think Taylor Porter came in and did fantastically well, but that's what I have to balance is, you want fresh legs on the field, but there's people that are performing like Sam, but you've got to make sure you're also looking after these young players that have been sort of thrown in. And she's been incredible since day one. So I've spoken already about the character of all our new faces, all the new players that have come in. And Sam really epitomizes that. She's pretty much friends with everyone, as far as I can tell, really connected, really open, always light and bright energy. And then when she hits the field, she's a playmaker. I changed her position. And you lose a lot of players sometimes when you do that, because they see it as an insult, or they feel like they should be somewhere else. She just gets her head down and gets to work. She shows up with clips she wants to watch. She asks really specific questions. She's not a box ticking player. You know, I love that from new players. They know that they've got to work hard, and they know they've got to do these things to be successful. So they sort of just do it to do it, instead of, if you're watching clips, why are you watching them? What are you trying to do? What are you trying to learn from? And she's very specific. She's got pages of notes. And part of me is just sort of like, just enjoy it as well. And I think she is, but she's so dedicated and businesslike in how she goes about day to day. And she's someone a lot of people can learn from, including myself.
You mentioned the positional change, but also she was drafted by another manager and is now coming for her rookie season under a different manager. What has been like, getting to know her and coach her and through these things, when the circumstance when she's taking the field now is not one that she perhaps might have seen when she got drafted?
Well, thank you, Mark. Amira Ali was also drafted, and fortunately we lost her in the allocation. She's injured now, but she's been fantastic. So Mark and his staff did a great job finding these players. I think for her, she was arriving anyway, so it was all going to be new to her, and the same thing for me. So it's not like she agreed to be drafted. You just are, and you arrive into an organization and a structure and a team that you hope you can fit in with. So I think it wasn't me that drafted her originally. The team looked differently when she was originally drafted. But I think she was just excited to show up, and I was looking forward to meeting this young player I'd heard so much about, and she hasn't disappointed.
When we had Kelly in here right before you, she talked about a positive of this game being that you guys wanted to switch the ball through the midfield a bit more, and that she thought you guys did really well at that today. Can you kind of talk about that and your takeaways from that perspective?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of a disjointed game, so I'm glad she saw it like that. But I would say that they matched us up. They went with the back three. They haven't done that. Like, really, again, huge congratulations to their coach, who's been under a lot of pressure, who's new, and who just went out and put in a performance that I think really locked us in the first half. What I didn't enjoy about that is I thought people needed to live on the ball and just be stronger at doing what they do. It was a lot of man marking, which people haven't seen for a while. But the second half, we went for it. I would rather lose 3-0 than not just give it our all. And the team really, I know they feel the same way. So getting on the ball, finding the opposite sides, again, those secondary movements become critical, the rotation in the middle. And I'm glad Kelly recognizes that. It is something we have to do. We have to live on the ball. We have to live our identity, and we've got to switch the point of attack. And when things aren't going well, we're usually not doing those things.